Today, we're diving into one of the most complex and, frankly, one of the most important challenges of our time. We're talking about how the US Department of Defense is trying to build a moral compass for artificial intelligence before it's fully unleashed on the battlefield. And believe me, the stakes could not be higher. This quote right here, from the Defense Department itself, really gets to the very heart of the issue. The Pentagon gets that winning a war by sacrificing your core democratic values, well, that's not really a victory at all, is it? It's a powerful idea that pretty much frames this entire conversation. So what we're really looking at is this massive, high-stakes balancing act. I mean, think about it. On one hand, the US military has to innovate at lightning speed just to stay ahead of its adversaries. But on the other hand, it has to do all that without becoming the very thing it's supposed to be fighting against. Yeah, this isn't just about building smarter drones or faster targeting systems, not at all. It's about deciding, fundamentally, how the United States is going to use this incredibly transformative technology. The choices they're making right now are going to define the character of the military for generations to come. Okay, so before we go any further, we absolutely have to get our definitions straight. You hear these terms, AI and autonomy, thrown around all the time, a lot of times like they mean the same thing. But they don't, especially not in a military context. The difference is huge. So when the DoD talks about AI, this is what they mean. It's a really broad set of tools. It's probably better to think of it less like a single thinking robot and more like a whole category of techniques. You know, things like machine learning that help a system get a specific job done. It's all about processing information to complete a task. And this is where it gets really clear. See, AI is the brains of the operation. It's the software that's doing the thinking. Autonomy, on the other hand, is the freedom. It's the ability to act on its own without a human in the loop. And you can absolutely have one without the other. A smart data analysis tool uses AI, but it's not autonomous. And get this, an old school landline is totally autonomous. It acts on its own, but it has zero modern AI. See the difference? It's a crucial one. Now, it's really important to understand that the Pentagon isn't just making this stuff up out of thin air. They're not starting from a blank slate. These new AI principles are being built on a really solid, pre-existing ethical foundation. They're layering this new guidance right on top of the military's core values, the US Constitution, and of course the international law of war. And that brings us to the real heart of the matter, the 5 key principles that are supposed to guide every single AI project, whether it's for the back office or the front lines. Okay, here they are: responsible, equitable, traceable, reliable, and governable. Let's walk through what each of these actually means in the real world, starting with what is arguably the most important one. First up, responsible. This one is the absolute cornerstone of the whole framework. It means that no matter how smart or sophisticated the machine gets, a human being is always accountable. The buck stops with a person, not with a piece of code. Second, we've got equitable. Now, this one is all about tackling a huge issue in AI, bias. The whole goal here is to make sure that these AI systems don't accidentally create, or worse, amplify unfair outcomes. It's about actively working to minimize unintended harm from a biased algorithm. Which, of course, leads to a pretty interesting question. I mean, the whole point of military technology is to create an unfair advantage over the enemy, right? So how in the world does a principle like equity fit into warfare? So let's be super clear here. This principle is not about making a firefight fair. The DoD is still very much trying to have an overwhelming advantage in combat. What this is about is preventing bias in all the non-combat stuff, things like promotions or logistics or personnel management. You know, places where you definitely do not want historical biases baked into the system. Number 3 is traceable. You can think of this one as the no black boxes rule. It means that experts have to be able to pop the hood, look inside, and understand exactly why an AI system made the decision that it did. They need to be able to audit the whole process, from the data it used to the logic it followed. Fourth, we have reliable. This sounds pretty simple, but it is absolutely vital. The tech has to work the way it's supposed to every single time. It needs a very clear purpose, and its safety has to be rigorously tested, not just once, but over and over again through its entire life. And finally, number 5, governable. This is the big red button, the off switch. Every single AI system has to be designed so that a human can stay in control. It has to be able to sense when it's about to do something wrong, and most critically, a human has to be able to pull the plug if things go sideways. Okay, so those are the 5 big principles. They sound great, right? But, having principles on a piece of paper is one thing. Actually putting them into practice across a massive organization like the Department of Defense, that is a whole other challenge. So let's see how they plan to do it. To bridge that huge gap between theory and reality, the report doesn't just stop there. It actually makes 12 specific, concrete recommendations for action. Now, we're not going to go through all 12, but here are some of the heavy hitters. We're talking about creating a high-level steering committee to make sure everyone's following the rules, massively scaling up AI training for everybody, and developing brand new ways to test and evaluate these incredibly complex systems. It's a real roadmap for turning these ideas into action. All right, so you might be thinking, why should I care about some internal DoD document on AI ethics? Well, because this is about so much more than just the military. What you're really seeing here is the United States planting a flag in the ground. It's making a clear public statement about how a democratic nation ought to approach this powerful technology. When you've got authoritarian states that might use AI for some pretty scary stuff, this framework is basically proposing a different path, one that's guided by responsibility, transparency, and human accountability. And this really gets at the incredible challenge ahead. The Pentagon has laid out its moral code, its human-centric values, but it leaves all of us with the ultimate question. As technology keeps accelerating at this breakneck pace, can our moral codes, our policies, our human judgment, can any of it truly keep up with the cold, hard logic of the machine code we're creating?